I was in high school. In the hallway, one of my friends told me, "Hey, there was just a plane that flew into these buildings in New York." I didn't know what the World Trade Center was or anything like that. I thought he was joking with me. I was like, "Wait, that's a stupid joke, man. You shouldn't joke about people dying."
I remember like going home and seeing it on the news and just being really angry, and just wanting to do something to avenge that. And I think that's how most people felt.
And little by little, facts kind of dripped out through the day. And I remember getting home off the bus, and my dad was home. I was like, "Dad, are we at war?" He's like, I think we might be."
Yeah, it never really went away. I wanted to do something. I wanted to serve. Yeah, and I was doing ROTC in college, and I felt really I was doing Air Force ROTC, and I felt really like it felt like fake. It was at the height of the surge in Iraq, and I just wanted to do something different because I felt like I was wearing a uniform, but I wasn't contributing.
I remember I was a terrible soldier in basic training and in AIT. And I remember right at the end of Civil Affairs AIT, the instructor there was named Sergeant On. And Sergeant On, for some reason, had seen that maybe I had potential to not be a terrible soldier the rest of my career. And he said, "I'm sending you to my good friend, Michael Trost, at the 489th Civil Affairs Battalion, and he's gonna fix you." And fix me he did.
I wanted to do something different in the military, and I had heard about civil affairs. It seemed like a really cool job. It's kind of all the excitement of a combat arms branch, but the mission's different, and you really get to do like a lot of cool stuff.
So I showed up a couple weeks later after graduating from AIT, and there's this angry little sergeant sitting in this office, um, just typing with like an anger I've never seen someone type with. Like I've never seen someone type angry, but he could. And he's like, "Oh, who are you?"
I wanted to piss my dad off because he was a Marine, so I joined the Army. And but no, I had uncles that were in World War II, and they were a big inspiration. What's kind of funny is the one Uncle Marvin joined the Army, and he was shot in the hedgerows of France with machine gun, and I was shot with a machine gun, so it runs in the family. My dad raised me as a Marine when I was a kid, so it made the Army so much easier. And I was like, you're expected to pull your weight, even when you're 5. It was just ingrained in me. This is service, to your country and stuff like that was paramount and was key.
I was like, I'm Private Rose. I'm brand new to the unit. I was told to come meet you." And he's like, "Oh, who sent you?" It's like, "Sergeant On." And he lit up at that point. For some reason, Sergeant On had given me the in with this guy, and he took me under his wing, and he acted as a mentor, as a father figure, as somebody who really wanted me to succeed. So I'm eternally grateful for Sergeant On, who I've never seen since then, putting me on the path to meet this angry typing man.
I had to fight for one of my guys to get him because another sergeant that had another team wanted to get rid of one of his guys and get Colin. And I said, no, that dude's mine. Hands off, So I put together a team. I had a really good team. We gelled really well at the beginning.
I really liked. I had started really getting into like medical stuff, and I liked the whole humanitarian aspect of the job.
Then there's Rob, Rose. Both of them are like super smart, probably a lot smarter than myself. I had the most proficient guys that I didn't have to supervise. I mean, these are like shoot and forget kind of guys. So you tell them what to do, they're on it and they get it done. I was just like, this is going to be a good team. We're going to do some good work, downrange. So it was like the A team. I was rolling out with Mr. T.
When we got to Afghanistan, I remember us like having this conversation of like, hey, we're here, and we knew the mission. It was jacked up. We knew, we didn't have money for some of these projects, or we had money and then it would get shut off. But we kind of decided that we were just going to make the best of it, and we're gonna work hard.
My birthday was July 18th. I spent my 25th birthday getting off of a plane in Afghanistan thinking I had made a serious mistake at that point. So a long way from Tennessee.
So we were supposed to go to a place called Spin Boldak, which is just east. It's directly east of Kandahar, and it's on the Pakistan border.
It was like being on the moon. Like you can't describe the difference in just culture, environment. It's a beautiful country. It's mountainous, and there are parts of it that are very lush, but just so foreign from anything you've ever been in. And it's not really a country either. It's a bunch of tribes masquerading as a country. So it was very different from what I was used to.
Civil affairs basically is kind of like win the hearts and minds. You want to persuade people, whether it's helping them out in their village. We did stuff like deliver food, beans, rice, flour, clothes, grants for businesses. But the thing is with civil affairs is you never know what you're going to do. I mean, I had a guy in my other unit in Iraq, and he collected zoo animals because they blew up the zoo. That's not in a book. I mean, you get like what you get.
Honestly, we were having a really great deployment overall. We had clicked together. Everybody had great sense of humor.
So our job was basically to support this CAV unit and do the civil affairs projects. And then eventually what you get, hopefully, is you get them telling you like where the Taliban's at, who's in charge, what's being planted, where the IEDs are and stuff like that.
You always had to be careful around the Afghan soldiers. It was difficult to work with them.
It was February 20th, 2012. It was kind of a messed up mission because we had a 28-year-old USAID representative that's going to save the world with lots of positive thoughts and goodwill. And she had to get the ground truth at these schools that they built, well, we're right there on the border, and no teacher in their right mind is going to teach at those schools because they'll get murdered. Okay, straight up murdered by the Taliban, because the Taliban only wants you teaching the Quran, all right?
I remember like distinctly that morning, like being very excited because that was my last mission out. I was going back to the main fob after that mission so that I could start putting together a continuity book of all of our missions to pass off to the next team that was coming in a couple of months. So all my stuff was packed up. All my bags are in the back of our truck. Like I'm ready to go and type in angrily like I've been taught how to do by Mike, and get this book ready for the next guy. So I was very excited.
So we pick up 11 Afghan National Police with us, and there's about 12 of us, or maybe a little more, because we had the Albanian army NATO soldiers with us. We go over to Robot 3, and we do a little horseshoe security belt thing, and I get out of the vehicle, and then I tell Robert, I said, look, I want you to go in there, talk to the imam, get phone numbers, do a quick assessment of the school in the village, and then come back out because, I'm going to go away eventually, right? Because I'm the old guy. So these guys have to know how to do this stuff.
I guess Mike felt like, it's his last mission. Let's let him do something more than just sit on the gun. And he said, hey, switch spots with me. Why don't you go in and do this assessment? I'll be out here, holding down the fort. Absolutely. It's my last chance to go out there and do it. I'm going to go do that.
And so he leaves. Now, Robert is my gunner. Okay, so he's normally in the truck on the 50 cal.
We go into this school, and there's nothing to assess. There's no desks, there's no chairs, there's no books. It's just an empty, dusty room.
So I got, G was in driving the vehicle, so he's in the vehicle still. And then Colin was on leave, so he wasn't with us that day. I get out and I talk to Captain Vogley was his name, and he's the Albanian commando team guys or whatever. They're rotating a new team in, so they want to get the lay of the land. So we're all sitting there. There's three of us. So there's Corporal Pecci, his sidekick, you know, and then Captain Vogley, and then me. And so Captain Vogley goes, "Hey, what's that over there?" And there's these Kuchi nomadic tribal people that go around and hunker down next to a village during the winter so they can get water at least and some food maybe. And so I was pointing at it like that. And so I reached my hand back like this to scratch my face, and the first shot come across and hit my hand and blew these two fingers off on the right hand. This is my big toe and part of my foot. I like to call it Tomas. So anyways, then we hear dut, 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 dut. And so there's a machine gun shooting at us, right?
We hear machine gun fire really close. Like it's from us to the parking lot, right? I'm like, well, that doesn't sound good, but it doesn't sound menacing because trigger discipline was not necessarily a thing that like the Afghan military had like mastered yet. So it wasn't uncommon for them to accidentally shoot off rounds, or for there to be celebratory fire, or things that are pretty unreasonable looking back.
Well, I turn like this way and I get shot in this buttocks and this leg. And then I turn this way and get shot in this buttocks and this leg. And then I could see puffs of like cloth coming apart on my uniform. And I realized like, we're in the frickin' kill sack. We need to get out of here.
We tensed up and we tried to get a feel for what was happening on the ground. I was with Sergeant Sierra, who's kind of in charge of the whole mission. He's like, "Hey, I need eyes on what's going on."
So immediately we took off, and I was running for a vehicle to try to dive underneath the vehicle. Because I looked this way at the wall of the one village, and there's another village on the other side, and I can't see anything. I can't see any flashes from a muzzle or nothing, so I don't know where we're being shot from.
And we're in this building, and there's this Department of State, USAID attachment that we're like, oh, what do we do with her? We've got to get her back to a truck in case we're getting attacked. So me and Sergeant Sierra, we grab her by each arm, and we're like walking her back. You can see our bodies as a shield against anything that might be happening.
As I turn around and we're running, I see the captain running next to me, and he lurches back like this, and he got shot in the back of the head, and he was dead. And then Corporal Pecci went to grab him like this, and while he was bent over like that, a bullet came through his nose and out his jaw. And so he was hit there. He was hit twice in the hip, and then he got hit right in the sappy plate right here. And so that sappy plate saved his life. Otherwise, he'd been dead too.
We get out, and the Albanian forces and the Afghan police are pulling this guy off of a truck. And they're like pulling him off pretty violently. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on there. Somebody messed up pretty bad. And I look forward to the truck that I'm supposed to take this lady to, and it's all shut up and down the side. The tire's blown out. The windows are smashed up with bullet fire. And Specialist Holyfield, who was the gunner in that truck, he pops up out of the turret. He's like, this motherfucker's shooting at me right now. I don't know what's going on. Pull him down. I'm like, oh man, this is crazy.
So me and Pecci are down on the ground, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, oh God, don't let this guy die. And head wound, man, it just starts pumping blood out. And he looks at me and he goes, are you okay? And I go, I think I am. And I go, how are you doing? And he's like, not good. And I go, oh God.
I get around our truck, and that's when I see all these casualties that we have. Mike is shot up. He's in a bad way. I can see he's missing some fingers.
I'm laying down on the ground, and I'm like, God, I do not want to die here. Not this place. Not this. Not here. It can't be right here. So I got like this peace that came over me, and I know it was God, because he's like, saying like, I got this. Don't worry about it.
I can see he's got tourniquets on him, and I don't know. I was like, who did this medical stuff? I knew we didn't have a medic that day. So, which I found out later, he apparently started patching himself up. So kudos to Mike for being a tough old guy for getting that done.
I asked for a tourniquet, and I go, I need a tourniquet because I couldn't get down to my boot, because I had one in my boot and I had one on my shoulder pocket right here. So I took this one off and put it on myself on the arm. And then, there's a bunch of people over there, and I go, I need some tourniquet for my legs. And people just started throwing tourniquets, and I only got 2 legs, man. So anyways, we put them on and tied them up real quick.
I just remember like, okay, I gotta start doing medic stuff real quick. I don't know how to do medic stuff, but I know like, if something's bleeding, like, tie it off and get something to stop it. So we start doing that. We get him up into the truck. He mostly gets himself up into the truck. We're sitting there, we're trying to figure out what to do. We know we need to call a helicopter or a vehicle or something. And we can't get the radio to work. So this kid Smith comes over to try and help us use the satellite communication so that we can send up this 9-line message, and he's falling apart.
This kid who was in the headquarters unit, and they were like the apple dumpling gang. I mean, we got like computer guy on a machine gun, and you got NBC guy leading it, and there's just a hodgepodge of people. Well, this day the medic decided that he didn't want to roll out that day with us, so I got no medic now.
Combat is crazy, and he's falling apart because he can't get the radios to work, and this is his thing. He's trained for this his whole career. His 2.5 years he's been in the Army. All he's known is like, I do radios so I can save people's lives so they can communicate, and he can't get it to work, and he's crying, and I can't get him to calm down.
And he's just like going crazy, because this is his first tour,
One of the sergeants from the Albanian troops comes over, and I swear it was like something out of a movie. He lifts this kid up out of his seat, and Michael say he punched him, but he slaps him. He slaps him right across the face. And in the thickest Eastern European accent, I was like, quit your sobbing, do your job, get on radio. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a very intense moment that we're living through right now, and nobody knows what's going on still. We still don't understand, like, how did we get attacked? Like what casualties do we really have?
Who was shooting at us was an Afghan national police that was a Taliban, okay? And he had turned his machine gun on us 3 that were in the center of our little goose egg, So we didn't realize it though. I mean, because you're looking out. You're not expected to get hit from within, You always look out and try to identify where the fire's coming from. So anyways, he gets in there, he gets on the radio, he goes, birds inbound, 5 minutes. Oh, thank God, I'm gonna get out of here. And as I look down in the back seat, blood's just going off the seat, and it's collecting down in the floorboard. And I told my guys, I go, you gotta get me out of here, I'm bleeding out.
Mike looks over at me and says, I am bleeding. I think I've been shot in the dick. He says it just like that. He says, you got to get me out. Make sure my dick is still there. And I'm like, Mike, this is no time for jokes. This is absolutely no time for jokes. But he's insistent. He's like, they've shot my dick off. You have to check. So I pull him out of the truck. I'm having the worst day of my life, and I'm sure he thinks he's having the worst day of his too. I pull him out of the truck. I'm like, I don't see a bullet wound there. He's like, no, cut my pants off. Cut my pants off right now. I cut his pants off. All the bits and pieces are there. And this guy, he's been shot 8 times at this point. He looks at me and he says, gotcha. What? You got me?
They lift me out because I'm feeling it now. I mean, this leg is worthless. I mean, I can barely move it. They get me out, and I ask Rob. I go, find my finger, because I didn't want to leave anything. I'm like, I'm not going to leave anything here that's mine,
He had the presence of mind. He was lucid enough to crack jokes post-firefight. Kudos to him. But we're lucky he did, because in that joke, we discovered that he really had been shot. His like buttocks had been severed off. And it was an enormous wound. I had no idea what to do. So we started just grabbing every piece of gauze, everything that we could pack in there. And we packed 20, 30 feet worth of gauze into him to get him to stop bleeding, wrapped him up with all sorts of bandages, and got that bleeding stabilized. Then he told me to go find his fingers, which of course he said it in a funny way because he's Mike. So I got his fingers, I wrapped up his fingers and taped them to his hand so he could. I don't know what he did with them. He doesn't have them to this day, so I don't know where he put them after I gave them to him, but they're gone.
I heard Sergeant Sierra say, "Bring out the wounded," because I could feel the rotor wash coming, from a helicopter. They get me on the stretcher, and I do this one across my upper body, and they're doing the lower body, harnessing a gnat up. They pull me up, and so this kid's named Duarte, and he's like from Brazil. You're supposed to like both face the helicopter. Like the lead guy might be like this, and the rear guy's like that. Well, Duarte picks me up, and he's walking backwards, and I go, "Duarte, face the helicopter, man." And he's like, "No problem, Sergeant. I got you." We get about a few steps, and all of a sudden, boom, and they dump me. And I remember Rob coming in like, don't you treat my sergeant like that or whatever. And so he comes running over, and he gets there, and he does the same thing. And I go, no, face the bird, face the bird.
I mean, it was like out of a comedy movie. We drop him once, we drop him twice, we drop him 3 times. I mean, we were essentially just rolling him to the helicopter at this point. We couldn't keep him on the stretcher. Eventually we get him there though. And I remember at that point, the real adrenaline dump happened. And like my legs stopped working. Like I couldn't walk away from the helicopter. This crew chief grabbed me by my neck and he said, "Get out of the way," and threw me away from the helicopter so they could get out of there. And I remember standing the best I could at the back of our truck. I was like, I think I'm gonna throw up right now because the adrenaline dump was so intense that my body had just shut down. Like I couldn't walk, I couldn't speak.
I got to keep myself occupied, man. So I had my watch, and I'm looking at it, and I go, let's time this thing. Let's see how long it takes. Well, normally that flight, if you do it from Kandahar to Spin Boldak, is 40 minutes, okay? So there's a golden hour. You have 1 hour, and you stand the best chance of survival if you get to a medical facility within an hour. I'm timing this. These guys, like, doors open, full on, red line, going, boogieing, nap the earth. It's like 20 minutes. They got there in 20 minutes. And we bank up like this, and I see that big frickin' red cross. Thank God I'm gonna make it.
The supply sergeant came in, and he woke me up, and he was like, there was just an attack down at the, I think we called it the OCCD. And he was like, I think he said like Master Sergeant Trost got shot. And I remember I just looked at him, and had to have been like 30 seconds or like a minute where it just like didn't sink in. And he was telling me, like, Master Sergeant Trost got shot. We need to get to the hospital. He's like, he's coming in on a bird. And it just wasn't clicking.
So anyways, these 2 guys, they jump on top of me, and they're cutting all my clothes off. And so I just broke in these really good pair of winter boots, and they take them, they flip them up in the air like that. And I go, "Hey, Smith, those are my good winter boots, and I want them back." And he's like, "Where you're going, you're not going to need them, Sergeant." And I had this nurse, a trauma nurse. She goes, "You're going to be all right, man. We're going to take care of you. You're going to make it," and she's, pumping me up. And she goes, "These guys are going to work on your leg. These guys are going to work on your hand. This is an anesthesiologist." And so I look at the anesthesiologist, and I go, "I got a question for you." And he's like, "No more questions. Nighty night." And they dropped whatever, and I was gone.
The doctor came out, and he was like, he's going to be okay. He's going to make it. And I was so relieved that I just kind of just like let out like this huge, just like thank God. And then Mike, you hear Mike just like making noises, and he's coming out of the operating room, and he goes, what kind of a man shoots another man in the ass? And I was like, okay, like he's fine. Like he's fine. He's good to go. So I go and go and see him, and I posted up next to him, and I was like, I'm not fucking leaving. I'm staying here. So
I wake up and the first person I see is Colin, because he just got back in from leave. He's holding my hand, and I go, get a phone. I want to call my wife.
So I called her, and she didn't pick up, and called her again. And then I was like, well, now I've called her 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. And like, if I don't keep calling, she's going to panic because there's no callback. You can't like call to Afghanistan, to like some random cell phone in Afghanistan, and or like it was like the hospital phone. And then we finally got a hold of her. And when she picked up the phone, I didn't know what I was gonna say. So I just shoved the phone over to Mike. And then he talked to her, and then I talked to her, and I explained to her what had happened. And they did a great job in that hospital with him. And they brought him out, and I rode the bus with him to the plane the next day.
And then I was on my way onto launch stool, and then eventually to Bethesda, Maryland, where I spent a year getting surgeries and recovering from my wounds and stuff. But at that incident, my guys did everything right. I was so proud of them because they did everything right, and they saved my life.
Towards the end of the deployment, there was a kind of a breakdown in discipline. Obviously, when they had their the incident, the ambush where Mike was shot, there was there was 2 medics back at the outpost, and they were they didn't go out on the mission. They were taking a day off. How could you go out on a mission when you have 2 medics and both of them take a day off? You have 2 commo guys, and you don't set up your comms. That's something that I've brought to throughout my like subsequent like careers. Like, keep your fucking shit together. If people's fucking lives depend on you, keep your fucking shit together. It's just, yeah.
So we caught back up with Mike pretty quickly. I think within, I don't know, 2-3 months, he was getting surgeries at Walter Reed, and we were at Fort Dix, New Jersey. They were just a stone's throw from each other. So one night, he and his wife came up, and we had just sort of like a mini team reunion at the Air Force Hotel right there on Fort Dix, and hugs were exchanged, and tears were had, and yeah, so we linked back up pretty quick, and we've been in contact ever since. 10 years of just checking in on each other. I check on him, he checks in on me. We keep each other honest. So
The one thing is that Afghanistan, and when we pulled out like we did, it was kind of like Vietnam, and I kind of understand how those guys feel. It's hard to pour your heart and soul into something and then have it just yanked. But the one thing that I want people to realize about Afghanistan was my team. I had the best team. We were never late. We were always on time. We were ready to do whatever mission that they had us do. And we did a bunch of different missions, whether it was cordon and searches, drug raids, you name it, handing out freaking tennis shoes and beans and rice and flour. But whatever they want us to do, we did it. And I just want people to know that you could be in a really bad situation like Afghanistan and still like do your best and have good people. And the one thing I think that helped me out is I had a great team surrounding me, and they were there for me. And I mean, what more could you ask for? So it's a crappy situation in Afghanistan, but you're a soldier. You do what your orders are, and do your best that you can, and that's all you can do.
I look forward to being that crusty, angry typing guy that can hopefully take somebody and point them on the right path so they can do something with their career. Everybody needs that mentor, and Mike was that mentor for me.